This is Barrett Freeman with the PropertyTales podcast. I'm here again with Kayla Yokley. How's it going?
Good, good.
So you just did your first podcast without me.
Yes.
How'd it go?
It was much harder than what I thought.
Why is that?
Because when you speak, it's like very flowing, and then I'm like sitting here thinking of what to say.
I do active listening, which helps, but I'm a lawyer and I have to do depositions. And when people are talking, they might say something that I have to grab onto that I wasn't expecting. And so I've got my questions in front of me that I have to ask, but sometimes they'll say something and all of a sudden I go down this whole branch of stuff I didn't even want to talk about.
Right.
So, like, for example, like I'm asking them about a car wreck they're in that I'm handling, and all of a sudden they'll say, oh, actually, I was in a car wreck 2 years ago. I'm like, okay, well, now I have to know everything about that. And so after 10 years of law, I'm pretty good at asking questions. One of my questions I always ask the witness is, are you on any medications today that would affect your ability to give a statement or to be truthful?
Uh-huh.
When I first started out, it was on that list, and I was interviewing the police officer. And I'm young and nervous, and there was a bunch of attorneys in the room. It was my turn to question. Is my witness? I had to question him, and I said, "Are you on any drugs that could affect your ability to give a statement or be truthful?" And he just looked at me and goes, "No." And I was like, surely that's not a normal question you ask a police officer. And yeah, I talked to like one of the partners about it. Like, yeah, there's no reason for you to ask the police officer. It'd been weird though if he's like, yeah, I actually had wine this morning at 4 a.m. Like, dear Lord. I could do a whole podcast just on embarrassing myself in law, but who couldn't? I mean, it's a big, scary world like anything else. You ever embarrass yourself in real estate?
Yeah.
How?
All the time.
Is that true? I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
The cabin.
We're talking about the cabins and the hunting and all the time.
Yeah, I probably said things that made zero sense, but I'm really good at saying things that make no sense and make them sound like it's something smart.
Yeah, you just have to have really like a lot of confidence when you say it so that people are like, even if it makes no sense.
I've been told I have a lot of confidence, unearned probably, but I don't know, especially when we're talking about real estate because it's my favorite topic.
Yeah, I spoke to someone that had spoke to you. We were going to list the property, but then they decided to keep it. And he said, when I get off the phone with Barrett, I'm so confused. And he said, and everything makes sense at the moment. And then I get off the phone and I'm like, wait a minute.
That's bad.
You talk so fast and you're so confident that they're like, yes, yes. And they agree. And then they're like, wait a minute.
That's any new thing.
Right.
You've got to practice. So I try to tell people, like, if you go home and you're like, I wish I'd asked him that, or if you just need me to say all of it again, I'm happy to do it because I know it's new and I'm comfortable and confident with it because I'm talking about it all day. But if I tell you something, I'm happy to repeat it 2 or 3 times. It's just the nature of it. I mean, it's confusing. If you've never bought or sold a house, there's a lot going on. So do you feel pretty confident in the buying and selling process now?
Yeah, I feel confident, but sometimes I leave a listing and I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot to see, I don't know, this or that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to go back.
What do you mean?
Well, like to measure or if it's like forced air. Sometimes I get confused about heating and air. And
there's 2 things. One, I've never done that because in the commercial real estate world, there's just less forms.
Right.
So I don't, and also, so the state of Kentucky just assumes a commercial investor is sophisticated enough that they don't need these extra protections. Second, I am realizing that you guys don't understand some house systems that rarely will it come up, but it'd be nice to probably know. So we need to do some kind of HVAC class.
Yeah, so it's like forced air, electric air. I don't.
And so there's stuff like that I know very well because it affects me. Because it basically tells me, am I going to have to replace this machine in 5 years or 20?
Right. And when I bought my house, I didn't even ask any questions because I didn't know that I needed to ask the question.
The realtor wouldn't have known the answer.
Yeah. So, and it was like, well, they probably should have. They probably did know the answer, and I just didn't ask. Of like, does this house use gas? Because like I didn't know what that meant. So my dad was like, "Oh, is your house like gas or electric?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to call the gas company."
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I can, not that I'm in residential sales, but I can look at an HVAC unit and give a pretty good estimation of when it'll need to be replaced.
Right. I can kind of look and see if it looks old,
Yeah.
but I don't know what kind of unit this is.
I don't know that. I don't know like brands or anything. I know some of them, but that's enough. If
Right.
some people that don't have a realtor, they might even think about looking at putting their eyeballs on the machine.
And like split units are very popular.
Yeah, and they're very popular.
Yeah.
And I've got so many split units are the units that people hang on the walls like a
Right, yeah.
hotel room, and it's just one location, but it in theory heats and cools the whole room. I don't find that it does.
Really?
I have several mini splits and several rental properties, and they do a B-C job of heating or cooling.
Really? When I went to the Virgin Islands, that's how they heated and cooled their house.
How big of a space?
Just a regular size room, but it wasn't one in each room.
Right. And they're very expensive systems.
Yeah, so if you put it all together, it's much more than a heating and air unit. But I don't know the lifespan.
They're supposed to get the same as the package unit. You know, 20 years if you take care of it, 25 if you're lucky. So when you bought your house, did you have a realtor?
Yeah.
Who was your realtor?
Josh with the previous company I worked for, Sean Rogers.
So
I just didn't ask any questions of like I didn't think I needed to know the answer. It's like who do I pay for electric, and then I didn't ask anything. I got it inspected, but I didn't know anything about anything. I was just like, where's my key and where's the light switch?
was it because you had the attitude that if there's an issue, you would just solve it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just didn't know anything. I was just like, I need a house. I want a house. I want this house. And it doesn't really matter anything after that.
Okay. Well, that's reasonable. It'd been worse if you were like, the realtor's watching. The realtor's going to, if there's an issue, the realtor will know.
Yeah.
You know,
I
so I
just
think
didn't-
some people have that trust.
Yeah, and I just didn't ask the question. And honestly, he was a great realtor, and Sean helped me out a lot, especially because when I bought my house, there was a lot of problems, such as the guy that I bought my house from didn't leave. Like we closed, and I was supposed to get the key, and he like had no intention in leaving. So Sean helped me get all of the guy out.
How did he do that?
He was like, you need to leave. And the guy was like, I haven't moved my stuff. It was just like excuse after excuse after excuse. And then Sean, he actually went over there and was like, I will help him leave, so, and if we have to go further, we will. So luckily, I think the guy maybe just needed that extra push. So Sean actually, helped him, I think, physically move the furniture out. So actually worked out really well.
It's a good level of service.
Yeah, he was great. He was really good.
Because I'm a lawyer, my threats have a lot of weight, and I also don't make threats unless I actually mean it. Mm-hmm. So it's so nice when I'm like, oh, well, I'll evict you. I'll go to the courthouse right now. I'll be back with the sheriff in 7 days.
Right.
Do you want your stuff on the curb, or do you want to get a truck and move it? Because that's going to be the reality. Your stuff's going to be on the curb, and people are going to drive by and take it. So it's really nice. I've had people try to back out of my deals, not as a realtor, but as an investor. And I'm like, I'm going to sue you.
Most people don't know the law. They think that they can just do whatever. And there are like squatters' rights and stuff.
Not in Kentucky.
No? Well, I think people think that there are.
Nope.
You don't think?
There's none. I know.
But you think that like people, though, like I think that tenants think that there's squatter.
Well, you're technically a squatter. I don't know what the definition of a squatter is, but I mean, if you haven't paid rent, you don't have a right to that space.
Right.
But the only remedy is to evict. And the eviction process takes, in our area, around 50 days. So technically, if someone doesn't pay rent, they can live in the space for 50 days before they're forced to leave. They still owe the money. They still owe the rent.
Right.
Good luck collecting from somebody that's not paying rent.
Yeah.
You have to know where they work. You have to get a judgment that takes months from a judge, then try to garnish wage, but they're probably not working because they can't pay the rent. So that's as close as we have to squatters' rights. These holdover tenants that haven't paid rent and they're waiting for the the legal process to play out, which just takes time. So, and I think some people really know that system well. That's why the background checks up front before we ever rent to somebody are so important. We get people that are mad at us all the time because they have decent credit score, but they have collections accounts. And if they owe someone else money, our attitude is they're going to end up owing us money. So
Right.
like, I've got a 600 something credit score. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't paid your Verizon bill in 90 days and it's on your account. Pay it. We'll try to work with people. Fix that. If sometimes people just miss something, they haven't had their credit running forever. They didn't know something was on there. We
Right.
try to work with them. Like, take care of this collections account and we will rent to you. That's happened before. We're happy. They're like, yeah, we'll pay it right now. They'll give us proof they've paid that collections account. We'll let them rent from us. But I do get people like scream commenting on Facebook at me. Like, you didn't rent from us and we got the money and we're ready to move in now. Well, your credit score was a mess.
Right.
So I'm not going to do it, unfortunately. So that you're protected from that world, fortunately. So that's lucky you. I'm protected now, but 8 years ago, I was the property manager of my own stuff. I was self managing. Now I've got a professional property manager, and he gets the calls at midnight and messages, and it made my life a lot happier. So, but hopefully you buy some investment properties here in the next few years. Do you have an interest?
Yeah, I would love to.
I would love to help you.
Yeah.
You get the first one, and then you get it rented. It's the best feeling ever. You realize the process works. I bought the house for the right amount. I'm getting more rent than it costs to own the house. And then you just kind of start looking for deals everywhere. So I've worked with a lot of investors, and it's always the same. That first house, they're holding their breath, waiting for it to get rented. And then when they get it rented, like, I can't get more houses. And that's how I was when I first started.
Yeah, I talked to a mortgage lady a couple months ago. I just like to talk to a bunch of people that are lenders and people that invest to kind of get their ideas, because everyone has a different way of doing things. So I try to talk to as many people as I can to see if what's the right loan, what's the right process, what would you look for, what would you not, which areas, and so forth. And she said, she was really excited at first, and she bought her first home. Second home, her investment property. And she said, and after that, she's like, I bought 3 all at once. And she was like, and I never recommend that, but she's like, I just jumped in because I was so excited. And she's like, it's almost like an adrenaline rush, like buying the first property. And then after that, you just can't get enough.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's how it was for Blake and I. And I have several investors that I work with, and that's exactly how it was for them. So I went skiing last week.
Yeah.
And just being at altitude, I lost 3 pounds.
Wow.
Eating my face off.
Wow.
It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Have you ever been at altitude?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where have you been?
Colorado.
Oh, you have? Mm-hmm. Where have you been in Colorado?
Breckenridge.
That's where I was this weekend. Mm-hmm. So, you're at 10,000 feet. Everything's a little bit harder. You're out of breath a little bit the whole time.
I didn't see like any difference. I couldn't tell.
Every once in a while, I'll just be out of breath for no reason, for a second. You're like, okay, and then I'm fine. My mom gets terrible insomnia.
Really?
Because it's, the air's a little bit thinner, not crazy, but little, and she just can't get like those deeper levels of sleep.
Yeah, so like swimmers, they actually go over there to train at the higher altitudes. But I saw no difference. I was there for, I don't know, a week maybe.
So I definitely feel a difference. I've got a little bit of a headache the first day, but I lost 3 pounds eating so much because I was altitude. I was also skiing 6 hours a day, so I was probably burning 4,000 calories every day. So, anyways, that was awesome. I knew I would because I always lose weight when I go to Colorado and stay for a week. So I was really excited to get on the scale this morning, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm down 3 pounds." And every night we're eating pizza and pasta. And,
oh my gosh!
Because Breckenridge has incredible restaurants.
I can't eat like that.
Do you ever let yourself do that?
No.
Good for you.
I'm on a gluten-free diet.
What's a typical diet for you? What do you eat every day?
Well, on the last 3 months, I've been on a meat-only diet, just carnivore, meat, and eggs and dairy.
What's your protein of choice?
Usually beef, or I eat tuna and salmon also because you shouldn't eat too much red meat. So.
Why is that?
What's bad for you? Like high cholesterol, too much fat. So it can it can be bad for your heart. And
Do you go for like the lean meat when you shop? What do you buy?
no, because I'm only eating meat, you have to eat like fatty meats because that's the only thing you're consuming.
People talk about the carnivore diet. Have you noticed a change in your energy?
Yeah. So before I was eating, drinking like 3 cups of coffee, just like halfway through the day, and then a Red Bull, like in the middle of the day, and then by the time I was getting home to go to the gym, I was drinking pre-workout. So that's like quite a bit of caffeine, and then I switched to the carnivore, and so now I'm only doing like 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that's it. And sometimes I'll drink a Red Bull halfway through the day.
I sometimes lose track of how many energy drinks I drink in one day.
That's so bad.
I know. But, we're performing, like, especially you're driving a lot. You can't fall asleep behind the wheel.
Right.
And I'm using my brain as hard as I can all day, and I can't have a dip.
You should try it.
I'm interested.
You should try to switch.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But also, like, you have to eat kind of more. You have to force yourself to eat because it's so high in protein that you're just, like, not hungry. Like, I'm significantly not hungry.
Have you lost weight?
Yeah.
You have lost weight?
Yep.
How much have you lost?
12 pounds.
In 3 months?
I lost 12 pounds in 2 weeks. Yeah. And then occasionally I would eat a sweet potato. Like, I got into it to where, I lost so much weight. I wasn't trying to lose weight. That was not the goal.
I would argue you didn't have it to lose. I mean,
I did
you're
not.
very healthy.
No, I did not have it to lose. But I actually have a nutritionist, so she was like, you should try to incorporate a sweet potato at least into your diet.
Yeah.
So that you can keep the weight. But
Cool.
It's actually pretty cool.
All right. Well, that was an episode. So how'd it go?
Good.
You think we're getting better?
It went much better than what I have to lead.
We need to make these more interesting,
Okay.
and I don't know how to do that. But I think the last 8 minutes of this was more interesting than anything we've done. So, especially from real creation standpoint.
Right.
So I'll make a reel of that your diet thing. I think that's interesting.
Okay.
So, and I'll send it to you. You can use it if you want. Are you going to post one of those reels that I sent you?
I just reshared one.
Okay.
But
so
yeah, I'll post
that
it.
was one that I texted you?
Yeah.
You don't have to do it tonight, but maybe
I'll do
one a day or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, that was fun. So this has been another episode of the PropertyTales podcast. Thanks for joining us.